If you look at sculptures or works of art from the Greek or Roman eras, there's something you'll notice. All the men are depicted as being in incredible shape, very muscular, and let's be honest, have better looking bodies than the average man of today. It's crazy when you observe the differences in physiques between the ancient warriors of the past and the average beer-bellied bar crawler of today, especially when you factor in the drastic differences to our quality of life. Right now we have it easy. All our knowledge and understanding of science means we know exactly what we need to do to live a healthy lifestyle. If we want to start building muscle, we can easily join a gym. On the nutrition side, we have convenient food sources, we have protein powder and other supplements. But back then, they knew next to nothing about fitness or nutrition. If they wanted food, they have to grow it. If they needed a place to live, they'd have to build it. If they wanted to survive, they had to fight. Just existing was so much more difficult for them than it is for us, but despite all of our knowledge, how advanced our society has become, they still looked way better than we do. But enough about that. Luckily, they're an elite few on this mission of self-improvement, doing our Greek and Roman ancestors proud. So you want to look like one of those chiseled Iron Men, one of those fearless, heroic warriors. Today I've put together a little guide for you on how to do just that, specifically which muscles to train to get that aesthetic, armor-clad look. Obviously, if you're working out, you shouldn't be neglecting any specific muscle group. There's nothing worse than muscle imbalances. You know when you see those guys with torsos that look like the Hulk, but then when you look down, they have chicken legs. But if your intention is to primarily build an aesthetic physique, then there are certain muscles you can prioritize, certain changes you can make to your routine that will accelerate this part of the process. I'd say this video is for people that work out and want people to know that they lift. And that's not a bad thing. Obviously, the mental benefits of working out and feeling more comfortable in your own skin is a positive, but earning the respect of other men around you and receiving more attention from women are undeniable rewards. Personally, I'd say when I started targeting these specific muscles, that's when I started getting noticed. Like, I would receive way more compliments, and people who I hadn't seen in a while would be surprised at how much bigger I was looking. So for this video, we're going to be focusing on this area. All the muscles in this region. I'm going to be telling you why I've chosen each specific muscle and then go through some little tweaks you can make to your routine to maximize your results in these areas. So first of all, let me put up this little image that served as my inspiration when making this guide. This is like a proper ancient Greek or Roman chest plate. Warriors would be charging into battle wearing one of these bad boys or something similar. As you can see, it's very aesthetic and anatomical. It's forged to fit the wearer's torso and withstand damage. You also have noticed that it mimics an idealized version of the male physique with all the chest and ab insertions. That's because having that athletic, masculine build was very important to their societies. These guys lived extremely tough, physically demanding lives. They were constantly putting their bodies to the test. So having a physique like this meant you were a strong and powerful individual. As a result, that body type was celebrated. It represented the most fearless and capable warriors, the best of the best, and that's exactly what they wanted to show their enemies in battle. So in addition to all the statues left behind, these armor plates are a very good indication of what the physiques of these ancient warriors look like. So if we were to use these as a reference and train accordingly, we could become modern day versions of these Iron Men. The first thing that sticks out to me about this armor plate is the chest. And by sticks out, I mean it literally sticks out. These guys must have had very well built chests, and as a result, that should be one of the muscles we prioritize. That's not going to be a problem for most regular gym goers because the push day or the chest day is a consistent component of most people's gym routines. However, in terms of aesthetics and what will make your chest actually appear to have some size, the upper chest is by far the most noticeable part of the muscle. And unfortunately, it's not always treated as such. Most people opt for standard exercises like the bench press as their main chest movement, thereby demoting upper chest exercises to secondary movements or just not doing them at all. That's a big mistake in my opinion. People swear by the bench press because it's probably the most popular exercise out there, and also it's one of the big three lifts, so there's always some competitive aspect between guys for having like a high bench. However, in terms of pure hypertrophy, I've always had greater results when the incline dumbbell chest press is my main movement. The dumbbell press in general, as opposed to the normal bench press, already allows for a greater range of motion and more control, so more tension being placed on each pec. And when you combine that with the fact that the upper chest is the most visible part of the muscle, that's what really gives you that t-shirt popping look. The next muscle we're going to be focusing on is the shoulders. The shoulders are probably my favourite muscle to train because I barely even have to hit them and they just keep on growing. Like everyone has that muscle that they barely have to work out, but it just grows easily, and the shoulders are mine. Now, some images of recovered Greek and Roman armour plates don't include shoulder padding, and some do, but I decided to include them anyway, because when you think about it, these would have been among the most important muscles for these warriors. When they went charging off into battle, they'd be carrying all types of weapons, swinging heavy swords at their opponents, and for that, they must have had massive strength and endurance in their shoulders. So of course we need to be training these if we want to look like them. If you want to build aesthetic, bolder shoulders, then I'd suggest you prioritize exercises that target the front and side delts. I'm not saying leave out the rear delt entirely, but that muscle doesn't have as much potential to grow big as the front and side delts, and it can be trained pretty easily as a secondary muscle in most pulling exercises. In guys with massive shoulders, it's generally the front delt that's giving most of the size, and then the side delt giving most of the width. As I said before, these muscles do have lots of potential to grow big, but it's crucial that you build them up at the same time because imbalances between the two are going to look quite weird. I see a lot of advice telling men to just go for broadness by prioritizing that side delt, and to be fair, the front delt is very easy to train, but when I took on board that advice, my shoulders did start looking very flat. Having big front delts also goes really nicely with a big upper chest. Those muscles in combination will really have you filling out your t-shirts. But it's all about balance when it comes to the shoulders. Go with low rep heavy overhead presses for the front delt, and then more controlled, higher rep isolation exercises for the side and rear. Now I'm going to talk about some muscles that, unlike the other two, you probably aren't training very much, or maybe even not at all. And that's unfortunate because they are highly aesthetic and go a long way towards balancing out the ideal V-taper physique. Think of these as the finishing touches on your suit of armour. I'm talking about the upper traps and the neck. Most of you are probably training your traps through heavy compound lifts like the row and the deadlift, but I'd say only half of you are doing isolation exercises like barbell shrugs. Honestly, it comes down to genetics. Like, I've had friends in the past who haven't worked out a day in their life and they have massive traps, but I was never that guy. So I'm on a mission to get big traps. I make sure I include shrugs in my routine at least once a week. Quite a common argument I hear for not training your traps, at least in isolation, is that they detract from your overall shoulder width. And that is actually quite valid. If you have massive traps, it can make your shoulders look narrower. Like I said, it's all about balance. You would have had to have neglected your shoulders for a considerable amount of time for that to have happened. So just keep that in mind. Now onto the neck, which I'm dead sure most of you aren't training in the gym. And I don't blame you because doing neck raises with a giant weight on your forehead does look a bit ridiculous. But it's seriously understated how much impact the size of the neck has on your overall physique. Honestly, it's the difference between looking like a teenager and a full-on bodybuilder. A big neck combined with a good pair of traps makes a massive difference to how jacked you look in clothes, and also makes your face look more masculine. So even though it looks a bit ridiculous, it's important to train this muscle directly. I was going to end the video here, but it didn't seem right to leave out the poster child of aesthetic muscles, the abs. The other muscles I've spoken about all generally enhance the way you look in clothes. They'll give you a more bulky, masculine frame. Abs, on the other hand, unless you really are rocking a beer belly, are not always the most detectable whilst you're wearing a few layers. However, you don't need me to tell you that if you put the work into this muscle, then when it comes to a beach day or during the summer months, you will get noticed. You'll be a lot more popular with the ladies as well. Also, if you look at that torso plate one more time, you'll see all those ab indentations. These Greek and Roman guys had strong as fuck cores. Similarly to the shoulders, a lot of the power when it came to swinging those massive heavy weapons in battle came from the core. So that's something we should definitely be focusing on. As you probably know, you have upper abs and you have lower abs that can be targeted through different exercises. When it comes to the upper abs, if you lift heavy and with good form, you'll be bracing your core, so you'll be inadvertently training this section of the muscle. As a result, you'll probably start seeing some definition come through without having to resort to isolation exercises. The same can't be said for the lower abs. To target these, you will have to go with more specific isolation exercises. My favourites are the hanging leg raise and figure eight, but any that give you a burning sensation in your abs are probably working. And if you're exploring options outside weightlifting, then calisthenics and gymnastic rings are a really good way of building up overall core strength and lower ab definition. So there you go. Now you know which muscles to be prioritizing to achieve a chiseled masculine physique like the warriors of old. If you found any value in this video at all, I'd massively appreciate you pressing that subscribe button. I've got many more videos on the way to help you keep learning the way of the Iron Man. That's it from me. See you in the next one.